الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله في الأرضين حجة ابن الحسن العسكري عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله تعالى في قرآن الحكيم: لا أسألكم أجرا إلا مودة في القربى. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Yesterday we discussed the relevance of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam and the Holy Quran to today's age. It was the foundations of the talk that will take place for the next 7 nights. Because if there is no relevance between the Holy Quran and Imam Hussain and our life today, then there's no need to discuss it. So first, we explained the different aspects of which there are relevance to our lives today. And now we begin to look at the different ayahs that discuss Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam in the Holy Quran. And one of them is the ayah that are recited. So the Prophet of Islam lived at a very difficult time. He went through many trials and tribulations throughout his life in order to propagate the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These difficulties included his life being put at risk, his family's life being put at risk. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sallallahu ala Muhammad. And the life of those around him being put at risk. In fact, there is a hadith from him which says, مَا أُوذِيَ نَبِيُّ كَمَا أُوذِيتَ. No prophet went through what I went through, and no one was hurt the same way as I was. In any case, one day the Muhajirin and Ansar came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and said, you have gone through all these trials and tribulations in order to get the message to us. So now we want to thank you because you have given us life after we would become dead. Now this, in brackets I will open, is very important because some people miss the bigger picture that life in dunya is not the real life. So when you die, it's not the end but the beginning. Only kuffar want to stay in dunya forever. Only someone that does not believe constantly thinks, you know what, death is a bad thing, we don't, not talk about it, don't discuss it, because we want to stay in dunya. A mu'min, the hadith says, الدنيا سجن المؤمن وجنة الكافر. Dunya is a prison for a mu'min. For a believer, it's prison. You want to be free of prison. You don't want to be inside a prison. A mu'min goes through trials and tribulations and difficulties every single moment of his life. So death is freedom to a mu'min. But for a kafir, it's heaven. And real life is iman. If you want to be alive truly, then you must have iman. If a person has physical being without iman, so if the soul is dead, that's when you're truly dead. Having physical health without spiritual health is irrelevant. It means nothing. What is the use of a person being in good health, yet being a menace to society? causing harm for everyone around him or her. So the true health of a person is his spiritual health. So they went to the Prophet and said, thank you for saving us and giving us life, because we were dead unless you gave us life. Now we want to thank you with these gifts. There is monies and there is presents that we brought to you because you are the Prophet, and for all the things that you've been through and done for us. Jibreel came down at that moment and recited this ayah to the Prophet. لا أسألكم أجرا إلا مودة في القربى. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet to tell these people that the only thing I require from you for all the trials and tribulations that I've been through is what? That you have the wilaya of my Ahl Bayt, Fatima, Ali, Hassan and Hussain. That you have the love of these four in your hearts as well as myself. That's all I ask from you. Some of the Mufassirin, some of the people who have the hatred of Ahlul Bayt in their hearts have tried to move this ayah into various other possibilities. For example, they said fil ghurba means to have mawadda and love for your family, which makes no sense, because Salat al-Rahim and the love for your family is mentioned in the different ayahs, all in the Quran, firstly. Secondly, what has it got to do with these people bringing gifts to the Prophet? And he's talking about his family clearly. In Musnad Ahmad ibn Hanbal, it's mentioned that the ayah talks about Hassan, Hussain, Fatima and Ali. In Tafsir Tabari, it mentions that the ayah, or one of the meanings of the ayah, is these four. It says Ali, Fatima and their sons. So in all, there is no doubt that Imam Hussain is part of this ayah. Fil Qurba. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it compulsory on every mu'mina, every believer that believes in the Prophet, regardless of the different sects, to love Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. To love Fatima al-Zahra salam, to love Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salatu wassalam and Hassan ibn Ali alayhi salam. Now the part that I want to take from this, and hopefully within the short period of time that we have to explain so we can benefit, is that the part of love that is very important is justice. When you love someone, then you do just by them. If you commit injustices against someone, then it's clearly someone that you do not love. It cannot go hand in hand that you love a person that at the same time you commit injustice against them. So there is a word in Arabic which is called dhulm. Dhulm is injustice. There are certain things that the intellect understands without any explanations. You don't need an ayah or a rawayah or anyone to teach you about certain things. For example, the fact that you exist, you know you exist. No one needs to teach you about your existence. Also, anyone that is sane realizes that injustice is bad and justice is good. Hence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can never commit injustice. An infallible can never commit injustice. But we can commit injustice against one another because we are needy. Injustice comes from a need. Because there are within ourselves issues and missing parts that we have not worked on, Shaitan can creep in and make it tasty and beautiful to commit injustices. One of the injustices that we can commit to ourselves is by our own bodies. when we sin, we commit an injustice. Every part of the human anatomy is given so you can do justice by it. If you do not use it to its proper needs and its proper uses, then you have committed injustice against yourself. For example, in the dua of Kumail, which tonight is recited, he says, ظَلَمْتُ نَفْسِي, I committed injustice against myself. ظَلَمْتُ نَفْسِي وَتَجَرَّأْتُ بِجَهْلِي. So sometimes we commit injustices not against other people but against ourselves. Sometimes we commit injustices against other people, which in return means that we committed injustices against ourselves. How? There is no way that you can take someone's haqq, someone's right, unless you've committed injustice against yourself. For example, if you talk against someone's dignity, if you talk behind someone's back, if you backbite against someone, ghibah. Ghibah is what? Opening a fault or a bad deed that someone has and Allah has covered. So there's a misconception that if you say something bad about someone, it's ghibah. No. So for example, if you say someone's fat, someone's ugly, it is haram. Because hadkil mu'min. Mu'min has a respect. Hurmatul mu'min akthar min Ka'bah. The respect of a mu'min is greater than that of Ka'bah. So it is haram to disrespect a mu'min. But it's not ghibah. Ghibah is a different level. What is ghibah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sattarul uyub. He covers everyone's faults. And we as mu'mineen are told to cover people's faults as well. So every mu'min should be a cover for another mu'min's faults. If you open it, you have done the work of the devil, not the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So for example, God forbid, you know someone who is a mu'min who does certain haram things within his doors, within his house. You go to the other people and say, this is what this person does, this is what I saw that he does, this is ghibah. If you act on this, you've done injustice against yourself and against that person. Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment, there are two things that are very important. There are two sins. One, the sins that you've committed that is your haqq between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah has certain huquq, certain rights, and there is a relation between what you have and Allah. So God forbid, for example, you commit a sin by looking at someone with shahwa or non-mahram and so forth. That's a sin between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, when you backbite against someone, that's someone else's haqq. Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah will forgive, inshaAllah, all those repentant people for all the sins they've committed on the huquq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, the haqq of other mu'mineen is down to them to forgive. There was a time, approximately 250 years ago, and the marja'iyya of Tashayyu' was in Samarra. Marhum al-Mirza was the marja'. Two people who were big businessmen came from Iran into Iraq. At that time, the economy of Iran was very good. And the Iranian businessmen used to bring money in order to spend in the harams, to fix the darih, to fix the harams, to fix the domes and so forth. So each of these people had brought a certain amount of money with themselves in order to spend in the harams. They went to the marja to first pay their respects and then begin their work. They went to the marja and said, look, it is close to Hajj time, so we will not get time to spend this money before we go to Hajj. Can we leave the money with you or someone you trust and then we go to Hajj and come back? Mirza said, I leave my money, the khums that people bring me, the amanat that they bring with someone called Amin. He's called Amin because he's so trustworthy. Amin comes from someone that is worthy of taking amana. He said, leave it with Amin, Amin will take good care of it. Both these men left their large bags with, their monies. They went to Hajj. The story is very long. Because time is short, I will shorten it. They came back from Hajj. Amin was dead. They went to Mirza and said, okay, what do we do now? They said, there is a book and he's written every aman that he's taken, where it's buried. In the olden days, they used to bury things. And they used to put a particular point where it was buried, so they can then dig it out and use it. In the very olden days, the ulama, when they took khums, Sahm Imam, Sahm Sadat, they used to bury it. Because they said when Imam Zaman comes, he can dig it out and use it himself. For many years they used to do this. But that's another story for itself. So they opened the book of Amin and they saw that this person, his money is buried there. They went, dug it out and gave it to him. The other person, his name is nowhere to be seen in the book of Amin. They went to the Mirza. They said there's nowhere to be seen. He said go to the family. They asked the family. No one knew where the money is. And this is not a man who's going to spend the money. He's a trustworthy man who's passed away. So Mirza said, do you mind going to Najaf on a Thursday like today? At this particular time, Wadi as-Salam. Wadi as-Salam, for all of you who have been to Najaf and been to Wadi as-Salam, is the biggest graveyard in the world. Not the Shia graveyard, not the Sunni graveyard, not the Muslim graveyard. The biggest graveyard in the world is Wadi as-Salam. You can go and search it and find out. The biggest graveyard in the world today is Wadi as-Salam. Arwah al-Mu'mineen, the souls of Mu'mineen in Barzakh are gathered there. Doesn't matter where you're buried. If you're a mu'min, you can be buried in Canada, your soul will be in Wadi as-Salam. You could be buried in Africa, your soul will be in Wadi as-Salam. You could be buried in Wadi as-Salam, and if you're not died as a mu'min, your soul would not remain there. It will go somewhere else. We'll explain in a minute where. Because the soul leaves the body depending on how you lived your life. There is two hells and two heavens. There is the temporary hell and heaven, and there is the permanent hell and heaven. Right now, there is a hell and heaven going on. Right now, people are dead, correct? You know people that have passed away. These people are where? In Barzakh. Barzakh is what? Temporary. So someone may be in hell, temporary, in heaven, permanently, and vice versa. So, they went to Wadi as-Salam on this Thursday, they read the dua, and they could not find the soul of Amin to ask them where the money is buried. They went back to the Mirza and said, we went there, we recited the dua, we could not find him. Mirza became physically upset. He said, if Amin, his soul is not in Wadi as-Salam, then he's in hell. The Barzakh in hell, where? In Yemen. There's a place called Hadar al-Maut in Yemen. It's a city. You can research it. The souls that are in Barzakh, in hell, are gathered there for adhab, for punishment. He said, if the soul of Amin is not in Wadi as-Salam, then it will be there. You go there and you recite this particular dua and you ask him where it is. And you take one of my students with you so you can be of assistance. He went with one of the students to Mirza, he recited the dua. And the student said, after he saw what he saw, he became unconscious. When he regained consciousness, the student said, what did you see? He said, I will not say until we get to the Mirza. He went to the Mirza. He said, when you told me to go, I did. When you told me to recite, I recited, I saw him. His entire body was engulfed in flames. And he kept shouting to tell you to get rid of the butcher, to save him from the butcher. And there were chains around his neck with flames, and he was being pulled and he was being tortured. And he kept repeating this. Tell Mirza. I told him where it is. He said, I'd not written it down. It's buried next to this tree in this place. Go and dig it out. They went, dug out the money. But now Mirza had a problem. This is the point of the story. Mirza looked for the butcher to see why it is that this person who had lived his life as the most trustworthy person in Samarra had moved from heaven into hell. They searched around for this butcher, no one could know him, until eventually one of his family members said, this is a butcher that is in town. The marja himself on his feet got up and went to the house of the butcher. The butcher opened the door. He didn't know what was happening. The marja has come to his door. He said, what is it that you want? He said, I've come here to speak about Ameen. As soon as he heard the word Ameen and the name of this person, he says, Ya Allah, bihaqq al-askariyain, the two Imams that are in Samarra, increase the punishment of Ameen. Now Mirza said, I've come here to find out what is going on to help. He said, come in and I'll tell you. He said, no, tell me here on the door. He said, look, I'm a simple butcher and I used to have a trade with a person who was in the south, in Basra. From Basra, he used to send me sheep and cattle, and I used to kill and sell as a butcher. We became good friends. Many years we were trading together. We'd got to know our families. Eventually, our children grew up. He asked for my daughter's hand in marriage for his son, and I accepted. But what happened is, when it came time for him to collect my daughter, he did not come. A year went by, 2 years went by, 3 years went by. Eventually I wrote a letter saying, look, you asked for my daughter's hand in marriage and you have not come to collect it. What's going on? He came to see me. He said, you want the truth? After I asked for your daughter's hand in marriage, I came to Samarra without telling you. I wanted to do my own research. I asked about the most trustworthy person in Samarra. They told me it was Ameen. I went to Ameen. I said, I want to know about this girl, the butcher's daughter. It turns out that Ameen had a son, and he wanted the daughter of the butcher for his own son. So in order to get rid of this guy, when he asked about his daughter, he said, I don't know. Now, when a religious person says, I don't know, it means there are so many things wrong with her. I don't want to tell you, but you should understand yourself. And with this, I came back to Basra and I decided not to carry on. The butcher's daughter remained unmarried all these years, and she passed the age where people will marry her because of this. Because of the rolling of the tongue, the injustice that Ameen committed against his family and against this girl, all his life was turned upside down. He was taken from barzakh of heaven into barzakh of hell because of this injustice, that he removed these two people from becoming married together. He stopped them becoming married together. So Mirza said, for my sake, please forgive him. For my sake, allow this issue to be forgotten, and I will find a good suitor for your daughter. And he did. He found a suitor for her, and they became married. So the point is that a person who's lived his life perfectly and religiously can change 180 degrees and move from hell to heaven by injustice. There are many examples of people who had the perfect opportunity to be in heaven, yet they moved themselves to hell by committing injustices. The injustices that were committed against Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam are unseen anywhere. There is no parallel to them until today. However, the only parallel is this. There is a hadith that says that the hatred in the hearts of the people that killed Imam Hussain and Ashab al-Hussain will be multiplied in Akhir al-Zaman against the lovers of Hussain ibn Ali alayhi salatu wassalam. Say against us. Everybody has a choice. Throughout life we have our choices. History has shown us that the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam don't want anything from us. If anything that this ayah that we discussed proves to us is that in the Holy Quran we have more than one ayah to convey to us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be decent human beings. To love the Ahlul Bayt is to be in the path of Ahlul Bayt. To love the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam is to hate the enemies and not be in the path of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. You cannot commit injustices and say that you're in the path of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. You cannot go against humanity and be in the path of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Look at history and what it teaches us. Look at what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa went through in injustice in his life. What did they do to him? The closest people revolted against him and poisoned him. The closest people. The people who you should be sharing secrets with. And the people who should be with him at the most difficult of times. Can you imagine being with the Prophet or being with the Imams and revolting against him? The relationship between men and women and how that relationship grows is very important. And that's something I want to concentrate on. Because injustice can be within a relationship. Every woman has a power. And every man has a power to commit injustices against the other person. They have the ability to be just or commit injustices. In the case of today's society, we see that victims are seen as belittled people, as people with no worth. Whereas the reality is that the perpetrators are the worst of people, the smallest of people. To be a victim, to have injustice done upon you, is nothing to be ashamed of. To commit injustices is shameful. If you look at Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam, in the best of places, in the best of times, during the best of acts, he was killed. Why? So that Ibn Muljam could get his lust from the woman that he liked. Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wassalam, the son of Fatima al-Zahra salamullah alayha, the son of Amir al-Mu'min alayhi salatu wassalam, should have had the best of relationship with his wife. But what was the relationship between Ju'da and Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wassalam? It was a case where Imam Hassan was the victim of injustice against himself by his own wife, because he was poisoned by her. And not only him, many of the Imams. Imam al-Jawad with Fadl. We see history repeat itself over and over and over again. Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam was the Kareem of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. He was known for his generosity towards people. And he lived a lifestyle where his house was always open. For example, a person came to Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam when Imam Ali was working. And he did not recognize him. He did not know who Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam was. He was digging and planting trees. And the man came to him and said, "Do you have any food?" And Amir al-Mu'mineen had a small piece of cloth with 2 bits of bread, both dried. He said, "You can have one, I'll have one, we can share our lunch together." The man was poor and hungry, yet when he saw Imam Ali alayhi salam and what his lunch was, he felt sorry for him. Because he tried to break the bread and it wouldn't break. It was stale bread. So he said, "Look, keep your bread, I will go somewhere else to find some food." He said, "Don't worry, I will give you an address in Medina. You go to this house, you will see the sufra that is open and various foods on that sufra, and you can go and eat there." He said, "Okay, thank you." He went there and he saw that, mashallah, all these people were eating all this nice food. He had his food and took some with himself. The person that was in charge of the household, the owner of the house, came and said, "What is it you're doing? Who is it you're taking it for? If there is a poor person in Medina, I should know. He said, there is a poor person I saw that was digging. He looks like this. The poor man only had 2 pieces of stale, dried bread. I want to take some of this food to him. He said, this sufra all belongs to him. He's my father, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. I'm his son. He chooses to eat that bread. He chooses to have that lifestyle. So the karam of Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam was visible to everybody. Yet, how was his relationship with Ju'dah? Ju'dah did not only plan to kill Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wasalam, but she planned to kill him so that Muawiyah had promised her the marriage of Yazid and wealth and money. See to what degree a person can be misguided, to what degree a person can commit injustices. There is injustice and there is injustice. To kill someone in order to have power, to kill someone in order to have wealth. We see history repeat itself even today. If we see injustices, if we are quiet when injustices take place, then we become part and parcel of that injustice. In Ziyarat al-Ashura, you curse the people that committed injustices against Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, as well as the people who were happy for it to take place because they stayed quiet. Injustice does not mean that it has to be in a large scale, in a rally, in government, wherever. No, it can be in a small family. First of all, the injustice that we need to look at is ourselves. Do we act justly towards our own families, our own friends? Every single one of us is responsible for his and her own actions. Now, the case of Ju'dah and Imam Hassan is an extreme case. But in our own lives, we see examples that we become so taken away by what we think to be the reality that we miss the true reality. We were talking about this earlier on in the Q&A, that every person, by sinning, by committing injustices, brings about the hijab in the front of their own eyes. Curtains are drawn in our eyes. We see things differently to what they actually are. Why do you think Ju'dah would kill Imam Hassan? Why do you think Yazid will kill Imam Hussain? Because they go so far away from reality that what they see is completely different to what things are. Dunya for them becomes the end. Power for them becomes something that takes them away from reality. Now, depending on our actions, we can be either close to reality or further away from reality. Depending on what we happy with us. If we're mu'mineen, then the other mu'mineen should be in safety around us, not in fear of us. If people fear us, then there is something wrong. If people become happy when we walk into the house, then there's a beauty in there. There is a calmness in there. Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam saw the greatest of injustices to himself. In fact, the ayah of mawaddata fil qurba, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had said it the other way around, that commit injustices against my family, my household, they could not have done more. From the Prophet's death and the martyrdom of Fatima al-Zahra and Amir al-Mu'mineen and Imam Hassan and Hussain, there is no more injustice that could have been done that they didn't do. Yet the legacy of the Ahlul Bayt lives on. And the majalis of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam and the Ahlul Bayt grows bigger and bigger and bigger every second. And the power of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam gets smaller and smaller and smaller every second. Now I said to you that Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wassalam is the Imam that's known for his generosity. In his lifetime, he was known for his generosity. In his death, he is known for his generosity. Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wassalam lived a life to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the last stages of the life of Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wassalam, he was poisoned by Ju'd. Tonight, I've been requested to recite some of the Masa'ib in Farsi, and I will do inshallah. But I want everyone that has hajat, everyone that has problems, to do tawassul to Imam Hassan tonight. Because if he's generous in dunya, he will be generous in akhirah. So when he was taking his last breaths, Imam Hassan alayhi salatu wassalam, he asked his family to come around him. When he said goodbye to them one by one, there was one person in particular that Imam Hassan alayhi salam held with his two arms and would not let go. Qasim salamullah alayh was a small child that was about to become an orphan. Imam Hassan held him with both arms and cried and said, "Oh Qasim, there will be a day where you will see your uncle Hussain on the plain of Karbala with no one to help him. Oh Qasim, make sure you don't leave him alone. Oh Qasim, make sure you give everything you have for your uncle Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Oh Qasim, make sure you make your father proud when you go fighting against the enemy to help Abu Abdullah al-Hussain alayhi salam." And on the day of Ashura, Qasim ibn Ali comes to Imam Hussain. He comes and seeks permission for Imam Hussain. امشب شب حاجاته اومدیم در کریم اهل بیت امام حسن علیه السلام. هر کس حاجت داره، هر کس گرفتاری داره، هر کس مشکلی داره، این عزیز امام حسنه، این یتیم کربلاست. اومد کنار عموش. یا ابا عبدالله هل تأذن لي أن أدخل في المعركة وأقتل الأعداء؟ Oh Abu Abdullah, do you give me permission to go into the battlefield to kill the enemies of Ahl Bayt alayhi salam? Abu Abdullah alayhi salam hugs Qasim. The only time the hadith says that Abu Abdullah alayhi salam fainted was when he was saying goodbye to the orphan of his brother. تنها جایی که در مقاتل ذکر شده، تنها جایی که در مقاتل ذکر شده که امام حسین علیه السلام غش کرد در همین جا بود. مغمى علیه و غشی الی الراجل. امام حسین علیه السلام قاسم را در بغل گرفت، آنقدر گریه کرد که بر زمین افتاد. گفت ای پسر، ای امانت برادرم، من به تو اجازه قتال نمیدهم. برگشت حضرت قاسم بر خیمه، زانوها رو بغل گرفت، شروع کرد بر گریه کردن. به خودش گفت خدایا، شاید که من لایق شهادت نباشم. یادش آمد که پدرش امام حسن یک امانتی بر دستش داده، نامه‌ای داده بود. گفت ای پسرم، اگر ابا عبدالله را تنها دیدی بر زمین کربلا، این نامه رو باز بکن و بخوان. نامه نوشته بود پسرم، روز عاشورا عمود رو تنها مگذار. He took the letter of Imam Hassan to Imam Hussain. Imam Hussain saw the writing of Hassan ibn Ali. همچین که نوشته برادر امام حسن را مطالعه کرد، بوسید و گریه کرد. از این طرف قاسم افتاد بر پای ابا عبدالله، شروع کرد بوسیدن پای آقا، التماس کردن به آقا. آقا اجازه بده من از شما دفاع کنم، آقا دفاع کنم از عمم زینب کبرا. میگه امام حسین علیه السلام بهش گفت کیف تر الموت، چطور مرگ را میبینی؟ گفت والله احلا من العسل، قسم میخورم که شیرین تر از عسل بر من مرگ هست. بر خودش برداشت عمامه امام حسن را، هرچی برا شمشیر آوردن بزرگ بود، زره آوردن بزرگ بود. این نوجوان 13 ساله اومد بر اسب نشست. دشمنا شروع کردن به مسخره کردن، گفتن ای حسین بچه ها رو میفرستی. The enemies mocked Imam Hussein. They mocked him and said you're sending kids to fight on your behalf. And he raised his sword. He says, I am Hassan, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. I am the son of Hassan, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. When they heard that the son and the grandson of Ali had come forward, the enemies surrounded this young boy. Some of the maqatil say that he killed 3, some say that he killed 4 men, until Amr ibn Sa'id came forward. He said, Wallah, I will not let this boy live any longer. He took his sword and struck him on the head of Qasim alayhi salam. Qasim fell onto the floor. افتاد بر زمین، از اسب صدا زد یا عما یا ابا عبدالله. وجلس على فرسه وذهب إلى القاسم. رفت امام حسین طرف امام حضرت قاسم علیه السلام. وقتی رسید به جسد حضرت قاسم، دید که اسبها قطعوه بالخيول. All the horses had trampled on the small body of Qasim سلام الله عليه. وأخذ صدره على صدره. Imam Hussain took his chest and put it on his chest. چرا امام حسین برداشت قاسم رو؟ چرا برداشت بر سینه اش گذاشت؟ اومد معذرت خواهی کنه، در مقاتل داره، اومد گفت ببخش، میدونی چقدر سخت ای قاسم، ای یتیم برادر، از عمود کمک بخواهی و نتونه عمود کمکت بکنه. حالا میخواد این بچه 13 ساله رو برگردونه به رمله، به مادرش، برگردونه به خیمه ها پیش خانم ها. این بچه رو برداشت، دید هیچ نایی در وجودش نیست. همه بگید یا حسین، یا حسین، یا the hatred of the enemies of Ahlul Bayt in our hearts to grow. Ya Allah, give shafa to all the sick people that have asked us for prayers. There are many people that have asked for prayers, many people in hospitals that have different sicknesses. So inshallah today we will end the majlis with this ayah al-mubarakah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. 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 We don't have time for other du'as. We'll end the majlis with du'a al-faraj. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل الساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. صلوات. الفاتحة.